Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am happy you've been able to join us this morning for this RGPF press brief as we outline our operational strategies for this Yuletide season in this time of COVID restrictions. My name is Vanny Kerwin, I'm Superintendent of Police and Head of the Community Relations Department. And with me this morning is Assistant Commissioner Jesmond Prince in charge of operations and Superintendent Dumba, who gives assistance to the executive of the force in his current capacity. Before we start this morning briefing, I just want to address two issues. One is in response to some information that is circulating, and the other is to provide some information on the conclusion of an investigation or two investigations that we have just concluded. I do wish to say to the public that both investigations and the Fontenay shooting have been completed. Earlier in this week, we've met with the Regis family as we have discussed with them the legal advice as given by the Director of Public Prosecution, which is to hold a coroner's inquest in the shooting death of Trevor Regis. The corresponding investigations with Chris Regis is currently completed. However, we have not yet been advised by the Director of Public Prosecution on a course of action. We await that directive, and when it becomes available, we will make it available to the public. Secondly, I want to address an issue that has happened yesterday. We released some information yesterday that a police officer was dismissed from the RGPF. It is being circulated that the release of this information is a cover-up or to deflect attention from the government standards debacle. This is further from the truth, and I do want to explain why the information was released when it was released. This officer was dismissed in November. However, there are simultaneous investigations that are happening with regards to this officer. The matter the officer was dismissed for was internal disciplinary proceedings. There are a number of criminal investigations that are simultaneously taking place. It was our intention to wait until those criminal investigations completed and then make one release. However, because of the length of the criminal investigation, we thought it was best to release the fact that the officer was dismissed before the criminal investigation, so it doesn't seem as if we're holding on to the information. And that is the reason why the information was released when it was released, which is a week or two after it happened. And I showed the members of the media and the public that there are no sinister move and that we are transparent as we have always been. And notwithstanding the fact that it is a police officer, we are obligated to update the public on what happens inside of the RGPF, and this is exactly what we did. Having said this, I now turn you over to Assistant Commissioner Jesmond Prince, who's going to address us on the Yuletide operations and talk a little bit about the COVID restrictions as the new regulations have now mandated. Mr. Prince.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Cohen. And good morning again to one and all. Let me start off by, first of all, giving God praise and thanks for the opportunity to reach out to you, and also to give him praise for keeping our country and our city safe. I say this understanding that we are contending with the battle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it is unpredictable as to where this will go, but we are assured that those persons who are tasked with the responsibility are doing their best to contain and to restrict as much as possible any further spread of the COVID-19. Having said that, I want to take the opportunity again to thank the general public on the support that they have given to the RGPF over the past months. Because we started our operations on our Yuletide operations on November 1st, considering a number of activities, operational activities, that is in respect of the commitment warrant, issuance of commitment or execution of commitment warrants and the collection of fines. We also look at zero tolerance on offensive weapon, drug interdiction, predial larceny, firearms and ammunition seizure, fixed penalty ticket issuance, aggressive approach in solving serious crimes, and also the overall sensitization of the public safety and security. Our main objective for our operation this year was to create and to sustain an enabling environment for citizens to go about and do their business with some degree of safety and security during the period. In order for us to achieve that objective, we had to look at applying some strategic measures to allow us to be able to successfully achieve our objective. And the first thing that we began to look at was, how do we educate the public, as we would do every year, on their own safety and precaution as they prepare themselves for the season. And so we had a public education campaign where we discuss issues on crime prevention tips, where we distribute print. We were on the radio, TV, talking about crime prevention, fire safety, and other things, traffic management, and so on. So those are the things that we had used in terms of public campaign or public education to sensitize the public as to what they are expected to do to help us to better be able to police our state. We also look at heightening law enforcement engagement in the community and around the nation. You've seen policemen and women walking through the villages and engaging persons, basically just having a chat and asking and inquiring, if everything is okay in the community. And from that, we get the sense of what is happening in the community, and that would allow us to plan to execute whatever operation that is needed to happen in the community. We also look at applying various security initiatives, and that is the exercise or comprehensive command and control communication mechanism, where we have persons from different sections of the force coming together with operational intent to deliver on what we plan to do in terms of keeping our country safe for the season. So you have departments that would normally be in the background working in offices. They are now deployed in the field along with the other officers to ensure that they work together to keep the country safe. We also apply assertive policing in various areas. We have deployed traffic checkpoints. We've done some warrant drive, commitment warrant drive. We've done some searches and other calculated operational directed at resolving some of our criminal activities in the country. We also increase on our speed of response. We also look at traffic management in terms of checking the speeding, persons driving without the appropriate driver's license, drivers driving vehicles that are uninsured, and a number of traffic violations which we have been able to step up on our operations to curb. We also have our joint maritime operation with our Coast Guard, immigration, port security, and customs, working along with us to manage our marine domain. That is to ensure that we do not have any unwanted entry, and the observance of the protocol as it relates to the quarantining of yachts are maintained. We also look at special operational activity to include ambush patrol, roadblocks, and traffic checks that is happening day and night. And as we get closer to Christmas Eve, we would see more and more of these activities happening around the island. What we expect of you as the public, and what you expect to see with us, is that gradual increase of these operational intentions. But we also like the public to work along with us. We believe that since we started this operation in November, 1st of November, we've been supported very, very well by the community in general. We've seen a lot more compliance to regulations, and in particular the COVID regulations. We've seen a lot of compliance. We've seen some failures somewhere as well, and have dealt with, in most instances, warning persons, encouraging persons to practice and do the right thing. And we've seen a great increase in terms of compliance. So we are asking and continuing to ask the public to work along with us to ensure that we do everything as a nation to keep our country safe. You are going to see more activities as it relates to offensive weapons. And we are asking persons again, if you are not a farmer, you're not a fish vendor, there's no need for you to be carrying a knife in any public place if you're not, that knife is not used to conduct your trade. And it should be used at your place of work and remain at your place of work. Or if you're moving with those equipment, then they should be properly secured and secured on your person, wrapped in some paper or a bag to ensure that it is not visible and exposed as an offensive and treated as an offensive weapon. Illegal drugs, again, it's an area of concern, and we are asking persons again to desist from any illegal drug activities. Illegal firearms and ammunition, again, we've seen a number of arrests and charges for illegal firearms and ammunition. Predial larceny, we are also asking persons, again, if you do not own the farm, you do not cultivate the farm, then leave the farm so that the farmer can reap their harvest. The farmers can reap their harvest. Violent crimes, again, we need to have our people be more sensitive to conflict resolution as opposed to taking matters in their own hands to cause harm to one another. We're asking to find ways to resolve your matters outside of use of violence. Christmas bombs, we know that it is prohibited, and anyone who is found in possession of Christmas bombs will be arrested and charged for that. We also want to mention the illegal vending. Vending is an issue, is a problem for us. We've worked along with the Ministry of Works to enable those persons who are desirous of vending an opportunity to vend in designated areas. And so thus far in St. George's, we have created 2 areas where vending can be done legally, and that is on Hillsborough Street, the lower part of Hillsborough Street between Halifax and Melville Street, and the upper part of Granby Street between Halifax and Grenville Street. Those areas are available for persons to vend their produce. Only that the produce that will be allowed for vending in those areas are non-agricultural produce. The agricultural farmers will continue, or vendors will continue at the stadium. With respect to domestic violence, again, we are asking persons to refrain from domestic violence, report those incidents before they occur so that you can get early intervention. The wearing of military uniform is prohibited. And of course, mass crowd event. And we've seen now that the new regulation is putting further restriction on mass crowd event. The last amendment to the public health COVID regulation speaks to the reduction of the number of persons for social event, weddings, and funerals. So where it used to be 20 for social events, 75 for weddings and funerals, it is now 10 across the board. So we're asking persons again to stick within the established protocol for 10 persons to attend your event. If you're planning an event, plan for 10 persons and no more than 10. If you desire to have more than 10, then you have to write to the Ministry of Health for permission to have more than 10 persons. But I must say to you that until the Ministry of Health responds to your request, you cannot do the event. And if the ministry says no to your request, then of course no. And if the ministry says yes, and your event includes music, then you have to apply to the Commissioner of Police for permission to play music. So with these things, I just want to stop here. But before I stop, I want to also state that in the new regulations, arrangement is made for taxis and buses, public transport, to operate after 10 p.m. with permission from the Commissioner of Police. So any taxi or bus or public transportation that is going to be operating after 10 p.m., an application must be forwarded to the Commissioner of Police for permission to do so. And when the permission is issued, the person to whom the permission is issued needs to have that document with them as they travel after the 10 o'clock hour. So at this stage, I would break to take any question that you may have.
Before we get to the questioning phase, let me apologize. For you members of the media who would have received the invitation to the Zoom this morning, you would have seen that the Commissioner of Police were listed. Unfortunately, he's unable to be with us because of the exigencies of the job. And so that's why we are constituted the way we are constituted. We wanted to be brief in our presentation this morning because we have been on radio and television the last week or two, highlighting all of the strategies that we are now talking about. So key this morning is to give you members of the media an opportunity to ask whatever questions you may need to as you understand and as we go forth into the Yuletide season, having regard to the fact that we now have new regulations that governs us as it relates to COVID. So this is your opportunity. We're willing to take your questions now and field as many questions as we can take.
Can we just jump in? Is there a moderator? Well, good morning. Good morning, gentlemen, and compliments for the season to the three of you. My first questions have nothing to do with COVID per se. I have questions regarding Dwight Williams, who was mentioned by Mr. Cowan in his opening statement. I need to know if anyone went to jail as a result of what the former Officer Williams did. Did anybody who was supposed to pay money to the court, the monies were not received, and the commitment ended up happening and they went to prison? Or was he also fixing the situation that the process of going to prison never happened?
Alicia, I wouldn't want to speak out of turn here in answer to your question. This is the part of the investigation that are still ongoing. We're trying to unearth who might be affected and how deeply others might be affected. And that is the reason why, as I indicated earlier on, we held back a little bit before putting the release out, because we have several other investigations that we are conducting at this stage. And we will let you know at some point who was affected, how much persons were affected, and if that sum rise and we expect it to, we will also let you know. This is this is no means the end of the matter. It is a matter that is receiving criminal attention as we speak. And so I wouldn't want to jump the gun at this point, but at some point I will be able to provide that information to you.
Okay, thanks, I understand. And the mothers who have been impacted have not been able to receive their child support. I think the process of the investigation has impacted on the cash collection and payout situation at the Partygrenada police station. Is the police thinking about that, and any provisions being put in place so that the mothers can get access to the child support payment for their children? And is it still too early to say who's gonna, monies that he took, who's gonna reimburse the people who were supposed to receive it in the first place?
Before we can adequately address the answers to these questions, we have to first get to the bottom of the investigation. We cannot talk about now who is affected and who is going to repay, not knowing what has to be repaid, how much have to be repaid, or who are the targeted persons for which these monies should have gone. And we're hoping in short order, we will be able to complete that investigation. And of course, some decision would have to be made. If monies were collected on behalf of persons who did not receive those monies, then somebody would have to pay that money. And I am sure that decision will be made by the appropriate authority at the appropriate time.
Okay, I don't want to hog the show, but just I just want an update on our breathalyzer situation. I haven't heard much about it. I have many blotters from the police regarding people being arrested and charged as a result of the program that we had. So is the program still in use? Are we still out there breathalyzing people? Is it part of the enforcement that's going to be happening during the Christmas season? Although things are being scaled back because of COVID, but is that going to be part of it as well? So basically an update.
Yes, actually, you're correct. The breathalyzer is part of the use, is one of the equipment that is going to be used during our Yuletide operations. And and I'm assuming that you would have heard in the last couple of press releases that there was some arrests with public officers. One police officer was arrested and charged for driving under the influence. A rural constable, that is. We also had a prison officer who was charged for driving under the influence of alcohol, and those were determined based on the use of breathalyzer. So the breathalyzer continues to be part of our tool of engagement in addressing the issue of driving under the influence of alcohol, and you are to expect it to be in use for the rest of the season.
Okay, that's it for now. I may have a few as progress. Thank you.
Someone has sent in a question inquiring as to the procedure that should be employed for taxi or hiring cars or buses to apply for the extension that Mr. Prince has spoken about. That application needs to go to the Commissioner of Police. And so your name, the particular vehicle number, the route that you are traveling, those need to be included in the application. There is no standardized format for the application, but pertinent information, your name, the bus, the vehicle number, the route you're traveling, those are important, and you apply to the Commissioner of Police. Anybody else from the media? Any other questions?
MTV has sent a question, part of what you answered, but it seems to have more to it, where they're talking about the number of persons in the buses and the number of persons for public gatherings, the 10 versus the capacity of the buses. It's in the.
Okay, I cannot give you the medical logic for that disparity in terms of the gathering and what is allowed in the buses. What I can say to you is that once it is established that that is the protocol that is acceptable, that all the buses are going to operate with their full capacity, what that means therefore is that the bus operators now has to step up on their game in terms of ensuring that the people that are entering the buses are sanitized and they are wearing a mask throughout the journey. So those are the things that are going to be looked at and looked for by the police, and actions will be taken against those who violate. The reason for that being so and not having 1,000, 100 people in a mass crowd event, that is solely a decision that the medical people and the technical people in the medical field determine that maybe one is less safe than the other. So I cannot explain the rationale for that. That is their call, and we are going to be enforcing that. What we are asking now is that the people that are operating the buses, they now have a responsibility, as has always been, to ensure that they do not compromise further the situation of anybody contracting the disease on the buses. So the sanitization of the buses, the sanitization of the persons coming into entering the buses, and the wearing of masks throughout the journey is what has been stipulated as the safety measure that will prevent the spread of the disease in the bus.
Let me just add to Mr. Prince's answer just to say this. You would notice that we have stepped up our enforcement as it relates to the buses because of the disparity that you just spoke of, that the question seems to be suggesting. Because of the fact that the buses are allowed now to continue to carry the maximum number, it means that it gives rise to the fact that law enforcement must now enforce that the mask and the sanitization in buses are a little more stringent now than we have been doing before. And we have started that. If you look around, you will see that we are a little bit more visible. We have been engaging quite a lot of the buses more than we have been doing before, because we have recognized the very question that you're asking. And to make sure that we mitigate against the spread, we have stepped up enforcement in this particular area.
Good morning to members of the head table. Christelina John, GBN. I have a question. It's pertaining to two persons that I understand that have been moved from home quarantine as a result of their violating the quarantine protocols. So the home quarantine they was in, and they were brought into another facility. I'd like to find out if the RGPF played any part in that, and if so, what would happen with those persons?
The placement of quarantine is solely within the purview of the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health in determining who goes into home quarantine or who goes into state quarantine. They determine that. Our role will be where there's a violation of the quarantine. If a person violates the quarantine, then the police steps in and enforce the law, and by way of probably charging the person, that type of intervention. But in terms of the placement of quarantine, that is solely within the responsibility of the Ministry of Health. The two individuals that you're speaking about, I'm not sure if I'm aware of the situation, but if they were placed into home quarantine and then they had to be moved from home quarantine into state quarantine, then it means that there had to have been some violation or some detection of something that the Ministry of Health thought it would be in the best interest of the state to have them placed in state quarantine.
Since you mentioned, Mr. Prince, that you all would come in when there is a violation, and in that case, there must have been a violation, then what's the next step?
Right, where there is a violation in the quarantine, the police will proceed, will prepare all the necessary documentation, and as soon as the person is cleared from the quarantine, then an arrest will be made and the charges and so on will be preferred.
Would that be the case with these two people?
Any other questions from any members, other members of the fraternity of?
Hi, good morning. This is Linda Stricker. I hope you're hearing me.
Linda, hold on, Linda. There are some distractions coming from your end. There is some music or some noise in the background which is distorting us hearing you clearly. Can you try again, please? Linda, are you hearing us? Okay, Linda seems to be off for now. Anybody else wish to ask any questions of the panel?
Hi, Callistra here. May I go, please? Thanks.
Sure,
Assistant Commissioner Prince spoke about an increase in compliance with the COVID-19 regulations. Do you have any specifics, any numbers that can show us how that is? Are you having less arrests, that kind of thing? Give me a more specific picture of the change among Grenadians in terms of compliance. Numbers, if you have them.
Okay. Unfortunately, I cannot give you numbers, but I can give you experience, what is seen on the ground. And if prior to this last bit of regulations, we've seen persons in often walk in the street of St. George's or any other place in Grenada without wearing a mask. But if you take a walk through the town now, you'd see more people are actually wearing masks. In the past, while the police would encourage persons will probably, they see the police, they put on the mask, and then as soon as the police turns, then they take it off. But now you actually seen people wearing masks, even when they are by themselves alone in their private vehicle, they wear the mask. So that is an indication that there is compliance. We also see that business places, after the pronouncement of the last amendment to the regulations, we've seen business places taking the initiative to reduce on the operations and complying again to the regulations, as opposed to in the past where we had to be going after people and encouraging them to do this or do that. They actually taking the initiative to doing this. We also see people again who had pre-planned activities or pre-approved activities. Once the pronouncement was made, we did not have to go back to them to say, okay, look, your event cannot be done again because so. So in a general sense, what we see in the experience on the ground is that people are now more aware of their responsibility. And that's why I said that we are seeing much more compliance now, because people understand what is happening and are prepared to make the sacrifice.
Then may I ask why the presence for the past week? I've been there every day at different times of the day because I have been checking why the police presence is so low key at the bus terminus where the violations continue. I had to call the police personally to make sure that the bus I was riding on, people were wearing their masks. I got into trouble with the conductor for that. He didn't want to carry me after that. I had to call the police back to insist that he could not refuse me service on the bus. But there's a very low-key presence with the police, and a lot of people are in the bus, including drivers and conductors, not complying. Is the police thinking about putting more men in the terminus? Even just the presence of the police would be encouraging.
Right. Well, I know that there's sufficient manpower at the bus terminus. If at the time you were there, you have not seen any police officers present, then maybe it's something that need to be looked at. But there is sufficient manpower at the bus terminus, and it is expected that they would do their checks and ensure that persons are compliant. So it is something that we'd have to look at as we go forward.
Anyone else? Linda, are you back with us now? Okay, Linda doesn't seem to be back with us yet. Anyone else wishes to ask another question? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Okay, there seems to be no more questions. So we want to thank you for spending the time with us this morning to be briefed on our Yuletide operation. I would allow Mr. Prince and Mr. Dunbar the opportunity to make closing remarks, after which I would come back and would wrap the session up. Mr. Dunbar first.
Thank you, Superintendent Cohen.
Your mic, put on your mic.
Yeah. Thank you, Superintendent Cohen. First, let me say a pleasant morning to everyone, and thanks for participating in this press brief. As you're aware, we are into the Christmas season, and it is an event that practically everybody look forward to. Given the fact that we are basically a Christian nation, but it is not business as usual, knowing fully well that we are going through this pandemic. So I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a productive 2021. However, I want you to bear in mind that as we are going through this period, we have to be mindful of the protocols that are established. And that is wearing your mask, hand sanitizing, and social distancing. The regulation speaks to the number of persons in terms of social gathering. So you have to be aware of this. You cannot take chances, as you know that the virus is asymptomatic. So you have to ensure that you carry out the protocols that are established in order to ensure your safety and security. Remember that what you do today is basically what you're going to see tomorrow. So again, let me just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a productive 2021.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Dumber. And Superintendent Dumber was a former head of the Criminal Investigations Department. Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Prince.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Cohen. And again, thank you to members of the media for the opportunity to reach out to the communities around Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Matnick to share with them the intention of the RGPF and to, look forward to their cooperation in helping us to keep Grenada safe. I just want to make 2 points and emphasize on 2 points, and that is the 2 areas that are considered to be vulnerable, and that is the area of the bus operation, the public transport operations. I think there was a question asked about that earlier. And so we want to appeal to the bus operators, the passengers, to do everything that is necessary to ensure your safety. In this time, safety and security are individual responsibilities. We have to look to ensuring our own personal safety and security, and do everything that is necessary to preserve that. Don't expect persons to do it for you. You have to take a responsibility to do it for yourself. So if you are boarding a bus and you realize that there are other persons in the bus that are not wearing masks, then you need to flag that, raise it with the drivers, and let them know that you're going to come off the bus if that everybody is not complying, or you're going to call the police if everybody is not complying. Basically, that's the kind of approach you want to take in ensuring your safety and security. I also want to talk about safety and security of your personal property. Around this time, we sometimes get careless with how we deal and treat with our personal property. We become careless with our purses, the females, men with their wallets, ladies with their handbags and stuff like that. We become careless and we put them anywhere without paying attention to the surroundings, and then we get robbed or people steal our personal belongings. Our homes, we need to again remember, if you live in your home, ensure that you secure your home properly. There are those who are watching. If you have large sums of money, don't keep them in your house in an open area, or where a thief would expect, if they enter your house, they would find it. You want to secure it in a place where you alone will know where it's at. Those are things that you need to be mindful of, and don't become too careless in this time. So again, I want to take the opportunity to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2021. We ensure that all of us who are here today, by the grace of God, we can see each other again and be with each other again in 2021. So God bless you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prince. And members of the media, some of what Mr. Prince has just indicated, we have been able to make these available through some of our crime prevention tips literature that we have distributed far and wide. In addition to that, we had a jingle from the Criminal Investigations Department that helps you protect your physical property. And there have been several news bulletins, several media presentations, as we assist you members of the public to be able to better secure your homes, your personal property, and your safety as we go through the Yuletide season. Now, as we come to the end of 2020, this has been a very difficult year. It has been a very trying year. In fact, it has been trying for law enforcement, for members of the public, for us Grenadians on a whole. A lockdown has been telling, and I know a lot of people have been affected in one way or the other. We have had several media presentations throughout the year, and I want to thank you, members of the public, for being able to assist us in getting the messages out, be it COVID, be it law enforcement, be it restrictions, whatever. You have really partnered with us in 2020 to ensure that we were able to reach as many persons as we wanted to reach Now, as we come to the close of the year, it would be remiss of me if I don't stop to say how heartfelt I am to you members of the public for being able to facilitate us and partnering with us to ensure that Grenada could be informed the information that we provided over the years, over the months. As we come to a close of 2020, I look forward to working with you in 2021 if God would spare our lives. And I hope that we will build better relationship as we go forward between the RGPF and the media and the community. So on behalf of the Commissioner of Police, the executive of the police force, and the ranks and file of the Royal Grenada Police Force, I want to take the opportunity now to say Merry Christmas, bright and prosperous 2021 to you members of the media and members of the public. Goodbye, God bless you, and enjoy your season.